Well, continuing on our electrical adventures, we reach into the darkness, and what do we pull out? Ugh. This is the ground off the starter. Now, I'm sure there's enough meat in there that it was grounding. I mean, obviously it was grounding, given that the thing has been running at least. I think that'll do a little bit better. The one thing where I might have goofed, this is a 4-gauge wire. I think it's a 4-gauge. Yeah, this is a 4-gauge. And what I've pulled out, and what I can't tell here is this 4-gauge with just a much thicker shield? Because, I mean, yeah, you can barely see this stuff, and it won't focus. That's kind of beefy shielding on this. So what's on here is your standard modern rubberized coating. I guess if that's not enough to ground the starter properly, there'll be a little bit more magic smoke coming from this vicinity, and I'll know. One thing I haven't gotten tired of just yet is cleaning stuff up. Especially old rusty bolts. Okay, wrong way. I'm still getting used to this drill press. Not that new, but I just haven't really gotten to get a bunch of everyday uses for it yet, other than cleaning stuff like this. I seem to have misplaced my bigger wire wheel. I'm kind of frustrated by that. Ah, there we go. Oh yeah. On other things, I might not go to the trouble of actually cleaning off these threads and such. But this is the all-important bolt and nut that holds the grounding cable of the starter to the starter itself. So I'd like that cleaned up just a little bit. Yep, that looks a little bit better. You gotta take pleasure in the little things on a project of that magnitude. Well, the old camera stand is back. And of course, by camera stand, I mean a trigger clamp on a drill press vise. It's nothing fancy, but it'll get you just looking so you can listen to me ramble, if that's the reason you're here. Of course, I guess having a camera there does limit how much I can get in here. Sit, stay, good washer. I don't actually have a ton to ramble about for once. One of these days, I ought to buy myself a set of open-ended wrenches. I've got a set of them in the every other country in the world flavor. I just don't have a full set in the SAE flavor, or Imperial, or Freedom units, or whatever you want to call them. Could also use a good proper set of sockets one of these days. I have a few mixed sets of varying quality, many of them Chinesium, and the fender just came loose. Maybe I should either bolt it on or take it back off. And the vote for tonight was just to nudge it until it was back in place, and then maybe not lean on it so much. So yes, this looks a heck of a lot better than that. Now, a lot of the guys out there who do Jeep stuff like this, they'll tell you, go to Napa. They got all the parts you need over at Napa. Well, I keep going to AutoZone just because they're close, and I don't really feel like driving an extra several minutes to go to my nearest Napa just for them to have to order it, because they don't really have the best track record of having things in stock when they say they do. So I've gone to AutoZone again, looking for the proper ground wire. This is a 2-gauge, what was it, 32 inch. I wanted the 25 inch so it would fit, just right there, right where it needs to. And of course you can't see because you're just the camera on a stick. Turned the wrong way. But yeah, this new ground wire is going to be, ground cable is a little bit beefier than just your standard wire. It's going to be a little bit too long for this application, but it comes with the added benefit of having this extra little ground wire coming off to the side. And that, friends, is how I'm going to cheat. This starting relay that I was having problems with the other day needs to be grounded. Well, the body is not in the best shape to ground stuff, and I'm going to have to order a grounding strap unless they happen to have them in stock at Napa. But AutoZone only has like a 1-foot strap. That's not going to help me do anything. Well, I guess now that I look at it, technically, if I were to put a strap from that battery, from that engine ground that you can't see because I didn't set up the camera, and you still can't see. There we go. There's your ground on the engine block. And I suppose that I could just put a grounding strap from there to right here, which you probably can't see, but that's okay. There's a bolt head right there for the engine mount, and that would totally be a sufficient chassis ground once cleaned, because it doesn't look like it's been off since before Christ. It's pretty corroded. But anyways, this is going to be the longest video of me rambling to a camera while trying to swap out 2 ground cables. So, the main event. We'll just get this down here and try not to drop everything or lean on the fender. It really doesn't like that. I think technically it's being held on by 2 bolts out of the probably 8 or 9 it's supposed to be. Ooh, stuff's a little bit tough to do at this angle. All right. Can't decide if the awkward silences are actually just awkward silences or if it's even more enjoyable just to stand over my shoulder and watch me work while I shut up for once. Leave a comment. I guess that's the YouTube thing to do. Yeah, unfortunately, the camera on a stick here is in the way, making that way harder than it had to be. But I think that is sufficiently tight, way safer. And that should allow me to actually get a pretty good ground. Okay, what am I? Oh, okay. Yeah, out of frame, you can't see this. I just created a mess for myself with cables everywhere. Alright, so if I tuck ground in that way, feed the positive over it that way, keep you in the dark because I only have 2 hands. And there we go. Honestly, with my setup here, that's about as good as it gets. I'm sorry. So no sparks this time, probably because nothing's energized. That's okay. But this is way better. This is already looking a heck of a lot safer and nicer than it was. So I'll figure out how to get this in here one way or another. I'm trying to decide if I want to use that battery terminal or this one, just because having a couple of bolts here gives me a couple of options to tap in a couple of things. But I mean, I got this. I could put that to a distribution block or fuse block or whatever. It's good enough. Maybe I should have replaced this guy while I was at it, because I already know that this is all rodent chewed and it's missing some material here I just didn't want to spend $12, to be honest. Arrgh! Off camera, I'm going to go take that bolt back off because I just realized I paid for the premium stuff, the Duralast Gold, which has these. So I can make this thing look nice and proper. Well, fighting the camera stand turned out to be just a little bit more of a chore than I wanted it to be. So instead, I just did a lot of the work, and here's the fun part. It's done-ish. So we've got the nice, pretty, clean, professional-looking cover on this. Not tightened, of course, but that's all tied up, bolted in. The positive terminal has the same treatment, though the thing it's on here it doesn't have the same good fit in that plastic sleeve. But that's okay because this is mostly temporary. Additionally, now I've got this tied off from the that one little crimp on the new negative cable, and that will give me a ground up here where I need it. Oh, let's see. Another downside of winter, all the sunlight's gone. It's barely 7, I think 6 something. Maybe you can see. I can see well enough at least. But yeah, so we're gonna get back to this guy. Well, it's not wanting to go. Switch over, torque that down. There. That looks a little bit cleaner. Yeah. Remember, lefty loosey, righty tighty. Wow. This would be a lot quicker with power tools. Just put something on there and bzz, be done with it. One of the things I'm finding though, as an IT manager, I just get tired of using technology. So it's kind of nice going really old school on a Jeep like this. It doesn't exactly have high technology, which means it just feels more right to use all these manual tools to do things the hard way. Of course, I always do it way harder than it has to be. It seems that more often than not, I pick the absolute hardest possible way to do anything. But in my case, time spent on this is time not spent in front of a computer or on a server, rebuilding a database, migrating a database, backing up a database, working support tickets and such, etc., etc., etc. So that's a win for me, I guess. All right, so with this, The starter relay is now very well grounded, I hope, once I actually tighten this guy down. That should be a pretty darn solid ground. And I guess we forgot to put this guy back on, because it wasn't actually the problem, it was my lack of a ground. Did I not just have this adjusted? Why do I have to readjust it every time? All right, that's special. Hook on the thing. Stay there. There. Okay. Now, with that, and we don't need the bypass for the coil ever, or maybe just yet, don't know yet. This has been the longest possible way to swap out the starting relay, replace a few choice wires. I really may still go through and replace some of this. But I suppose, as bad as this looks, what we can do here is just put it in this this handy wiring loom that it came out of. Just get the fusible link in there. Come on. Don't you want to go to your home? There we go. Good as new. We'll just pretend all that ugliness is just not there by hiding it. So, now, if I have done anything right, and as long as I can double check this number 1 wire off the alternator, this guy theoretically should be just where it needs to be. Hypothetically, I turn the key right now and it will attempt to start. I don't think I have enough juice in that battery. Okay. Absolutely nothing. Wow. Sanity checked myself again. Tightened up the ground like I said I was going to, but didn't. Nothing. So that means this battery is probably just completely dead right now. Because I would have hoped it would at least have enough to give me just a little bit of an oomph. All right. Voltage, DC. 12.06. That should be enough. What's the problem? So the sanity check here on the relay, put a ring here, and I touch this carefully using the worst possible junk wire I got. Yeah, again, thing will work. So it's possible this battery just doesn't have the juice or the amperage. Well, I guess that's it for this evening. This is sorted out. That's all sorted out. This, well, it'll either work or it won't. Yeah. Again, it was meant for the other style. Won't look pretty, but it'll be insulated. But unfortunately, I'm just at a loss. Unless this battery is just completely drained without having anything on it whatsoever other than the trickle charger. And that actually has always been kind of the weird thing, is that I thought the alternator was toast because it ran long enough to charge it, but it kept dying. I think I might just have a short somewhere and there's a vampiric draw, because the trickle charger should have been able to, at least keep it where it would have been if it wasn't losing power otherwise. So I think I need to figure out where the main draw for 12 volts is on this guy. Because I suppose that is one thing now that I think about this, now that I look at this. There is no 12 volt draw from this battery to the other systems. I don't get how would I have power for the lights? How did I have power for even that one dash light? But failing that, how would I get power for the headlights? There was one extra little wire hanging off this starter relay here that went out there, but it went nowhere. Maybe that's the missing link here. Maybe that was my plus 12. Because I'm pretty sure there's supposed to be a 12 volt wire going to the ignition itself. And the wire says there is, but I haven't traced that thing. There could have been a butt splice or something up there that got nudged and came apart. And I'll bet that's where my problem is. But that's a problem for another day, because I am tired.